Hare Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Namaste Koti Vaishnavendra ki jai. Namaste Haridas Thakur ki jai. Namaste Guru Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadhar Sri Vasudhara Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopna Shamaku Radha Kundalam ki jai. Pradama Dhamma ki jai. Mathura Dhamma ki jai. Advika Dhamma ki jai. Jagannathpuri Dhamma ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Mangamaya ki jai. Gangamaya ki jai. Sambhata Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Pralada Lada Dai. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
start with.
Okay. Good enough, Joe. Alrighty, Bhagavad Gita class. First introduction prayer, page 1. Namo Jana Brahmasya Jana Jana Lakshya Chaturnitamina Tasme Shivade Namaha Chaitanya Vishnam Sahitamina Kale Yam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapat Nanitakam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guna Vaishnavascha Shri Rupa Sagrajetam Sahagana Raguna Vititam Satasa Jivam Sadvetam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sana Gana Lalita Shri Vishka Anavitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bando Dudapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namo Sute Tapa Kanchana Varangi Radhe Vrinda Svasvare Vispanu Dusate Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kapata Rupayascha Kripa Sindhu Evascha Patitanam Pavanvayo Vaishnavayo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Veta Gadhar Shri Vasti Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we were on chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. Today we're starting at verse 16. We do 11 verses, the Sanskrit plus translation purport. That way we hear the entire Bhagavad Gita in 3 months' time. Text 16. Ganena tutad ajijanam yesham nashitam atmana tesham aditya vajat yanam prashkashati tatparam. Translation. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Text 17. Tad buddhashaya tad atmanas tad nishyatas tad purayanaha gachanti upunar ivitim yana nidhuta kamashaha. Translation. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Text 18. Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane gavi histini suni chaiva swapakikcha parita samadashinaha. Gornitai ki jai. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahma, a cow, an elephant, and a dog-eater, outcast. Text 19. Ihivaya jita sargo yesham sam ye sititam mana nirdasham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te sitita. Translation. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Text 20. Na parayasya prima praya. Prapya no vidyat prapya chapriyam shitya budir
Ashmaruba, no, Ashmudaho, Brahma vid Brahmani Chitita. Translation: a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, unbewildered, and knows the science of God, is to be understood as already situated in transcendence. Text 21. Payaspareshu shakatatma vindati atmani yat sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Translation: such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Text 22. Yehi samparasya bhoga dukkha yonaya evata ari attavanatta kanteya nateshu ramate buddha. Translation: an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of miseries, which are due to contact with material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Text 23. Saknoti dvavaya ya sodhum praksarya vimkoshane karma kradho bhavam vigam sayukta savtuki naraha. Translation: before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and is happy in this world. Text 24. Yonata sukha nitara mas tathatar jayatir ivatya sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahmo bhuto digyajatati. Translation: one whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within, as illuminated within, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Text 25. Lavahante Brahma Nirvanam Vishaya Krishna Kamarasha China Devadya Yatta Manaha Sarva Bhuta Hiti Rataha. Translation: one who is beyond duality and doubt, whose mind is engaged within, is always busy working for the welfare of all sentient beings, and who is free from all sins, achieves liberation in the Supreme. Text 26. Karma krodha vimuktatnam yatinam yata chetasam abhita brahma nirvanam vartate vidyatatmanam. Translation: those who are free from anger and all material desires, are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfections, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in a very near future. Our final text 27 through 28. Sparsham kritva bahir bayam chaksas chaivantare parvaho pranapanau samu kritva nashabayantara charino yatindriya mano bidhir munu moksha parayana vigate cha vaya krodo yasara mukta evasa. Translation: shutting all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and visions constantly between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendental becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in that state is certainly liberated. Turning to text 16. Text 16. When, however, one is enlightened with knowledge by which inscience is destroyed, and his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvam Jnana Pavena Jnana Gyanhi Sarva Karmani and Nahi Jnanena Sardasham. Knowledge is always highly esteemed and what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna, as is said in the 17th chapter, 19th verse, Bahununam Janmanam Anti Gyanavam Ma Prapatyate. After passing through many, many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him, as the sun reveals everything in the daytime. The living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he thinks himself God unceremoniously, he actually falls into the last snare of nescience. If a living entity is God, then how can he become bewildered by nescience? Does God become bewildered by nescience? If so, the nescience, or Satan, is greater than God. Real knowledge can be attained from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. The spiritual master can drive away all nescience, as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body, but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the supersoul. However, he can know everything well if he cares to take shelter of the perfect bona fide Krishna conscious conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a representative of God. A representative of God never claims that he is God, although he is paid all the respects ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn the distinction between God and the living entity. Lord Sri Krishna therefore stated in the second chapter, 212, that every living being is individual and that the Lord also is individual. They were all individuals in the past, they are all individuals at present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future, even after liberation. At night, we see everything as one in the darkness, but in the day, when the sun is up, we see everything in real identity. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. So you see here, as it states, that we need a representative of God, Krishna conscious person, to show us the way, show us back to Godhead. This world of Maya, illusion, it's so many layers to it. So much in this world that can distract us from our path and lead us down the wrong path. I mean, just look how many different ways that, how many different beliefs we have out there today. We have, just, in religious beliefs, we have, Christianity, which has, I don't know, the last time I checked, around 30,000 different denominations of different ways they believe, in God. And there's Judaism. Judaism is, separated out in a bunch of different denominations these days. You have Islam. Islam has a lot of different denominations too, you know. So everywhere you look, in Buddhism is, it's exploded into so many different denominations and what it was, what it originally was. So everywhere you look, you have all these, everyone saying, this is the pathway, this is the pathway, this is the pathway. We are right, and everyone else is wrong. It can be very confusing in today's world. Very confusing to those who are seeking. But that's why Krishna consciousness is so important in finding a bona fide spiritual master. The spiritual master is the one that's going to show us the way, bring us closer to Krishna. Spiritual master, by surrendering to a spiritual master, he can help us purify ourselves from all these past activities. I mean, we've had millions of Earths, lots of past karma built up. And one of the objects is to get rid of all this karma. Good karma, bad karma. We don't want any of it. We're not here like some of these new agers saying, "Oh, we must do all this for good karma." We want good karma for our future. No, we don't even want good karma in our future. Good karma is just a guarantee that we're still being imprisoned here. This material world is very much like a prison. At one point in time, we desired to be our own gods, desired to enjoy separately from Krishna. Krishna is very merciful. He created this world for us. So we go out and try to see what it's like to enjoy without him. He's trying to fulfill all of our desires. So he gave us this place. This is kind of like our prison home, our prison house, for us to try to enjoy without him. So karma and our desire kind of determines what kind of cell we're going to get. There's some really nice cells out there. You get a really nice penthouse cell with a gold-plated toilet seat, sparkling fountain, feather fluffy pillow. Get the best kind of food to eat in the prison. And then, depending on your karma, you can end up in a really bad cell. Oh, you could end up in the worst kind of cell. Oh, it's not a gold-plated toilet seat. There's a hole in the ground that's overflowing from the last caretakers. Oof, and smells. Roaches and, spiders and rats are running around your cell. And the food, well, that's just stool. Yeah, they're bringing you stool to eat. This is a really bad prison cell because of your past karma. So many ways, you have 8,400,000 forms of species that we can be reincarnated into. These are our different cells in life. Good cells, bad cells. The good cells would be the really pristine cell to be in would be being reborn into the world of the demigods, up into the heavenly planets, where you have the gold-plated toilet seat and all the heavenly pleasures. But if you've been really bad and accumulated a lot of bad karma, exploited your senses, and ways to hurt others and whatnot, you can be given a really bad cell, come back as a dung beetle, rolling around a ball of dung day and night, everywhere you go. Be proud of that ball of dung, because it's my dung ball. It's a beautiful big dung ball. But these are our cells, and the most precious opportunity I call which is like going up before the parole board, the human birth. Human birth. We have spent our time in the pristine cells, or spent our time in the, in the yucky cells, and did our time. Now we get a chance at a human birth. This is before the parole board. The parole board's watching us. They're saying, "Oh, okay, what is he going to do?" We are given a choice. We can either to continue on and enjoy our senses, or try to surrender to God and find the path of bhakti yoga, devotional service. We go on and enjoy our senses, whether, if we collect good karma or bad karma. Say we collect good karma in this life, the human form of life, we get put back in the nice pristine cell. If we, do bad things while we're enjoying our senses, we can be put back in one of the other yucky cells. But let's say, we're on the pathway of devotional service, but we don't quite get purified this lifetime. Well, you get a parole extension. You get come back as another human. And more of an ideal place to continue on in your devotional service. But in this time as a human being, very precious time, very precious body. Because there's none of these other cells can you actually make progress towards God. You're paying your time, paying your dues in these other cells. But the human body is so precious because that's the time we can make advancement back to God, back home to Godhead. That's where the guru comes in. He's here to help guide us, help teach us how to go back home to God, and how to serve God in full love and devotion. It just sounds so easily, when it's put into print. Just serve God in love and devotion. Here's a catch. What is love? Oh, that's a good one. A lot of us don't know what love is. We only know the perverted form of love that's been shown to us here on earth, through media and movies and, entertainment. We only know this perverted form of love. But God is love. To truly understand love, you must understand God. So we can't do this on our own. We must have the Guru's mercy. We must have the Guru's help. We must be surrendered to the Guru. And see, here's the thing about pleasing Krishna. We just never really know what we're doing is truly pleasing Krishna. But the catch is, Krishna is so surrendered to his pure devotees, he'll do anything for them. So it's actually better to try to please his pure devotee, his representative. At least then, if you're pleasing your spiritual master, you're pleasing Krishna. Because Krishna gets even more pleasure when we're pleasing his devotees. Something to think about. Krishna actually gets more pleasure when his pure devotees are being pleased. So the spiritual master is much like a magnifying glass. You take a magnifying glass, on a hot, bright, shiny day, you take that, get that beam of light just right, and you catch paper on fire, catch leaves on fire, catch wood on fire. Spiritual master is that magnifying glass of Krishna's mercy. And to use that magnifying glass just right, to get that beam of mercy down on yourself just right, to be purified just right, You gotta follow the guru's instructions. You gotta please the guru. That's how you focus. Focus his mercy down upon you. Very, very hard to get Krishna's mercies, Krishna's grace without the guru. It's more like, trying to win the lottery several times in a row without the guru. You gotta be that lucky. You gotta have, God and Krishna's grace in such a way that you didn't need a guru. That's very, very difficult to do in this age of Kali and very uncertain. It's like going to like getting an honorary degree from Harvard, never having to attend. They just give you an honorary degree of something that you accomplished in life. There's no guarantees without a guru. And it's so easy to get lost in this cycle of birth and death. Get lost in this gratifying our senses. Because it's just so easy to chase after that little bits of happiness that are unfulfilling. Just about as soon as you catch a little bit of happiness, poof, it's gone. So many have tried. You got good celebrities out there. You got music stars, actors, people, name, fame, wealth, and prestige, chasing after this happiness, chasing after fulfillment. But even those that are in the spotlight, even those who've been have become successful, what do they still do? They still go after drugs and alcohol because even that success is not fulfilling. I always like to bring up like actors like Robin Williams as an example. Great comedian, great actor. He spent his entire life out in the spotlight, bringing joy and happiness to millions of people. But he himself was not happy. He himself was a very torn, complex person. He suffered through alcoholism, through drug addiction. He went through rehabs, and even in the end, when he got clean, he was at the height of his career, name, fame, prestige, family. He had everything, and yet it wasn't enough. He's able to bring joy to millions of people, but not to himself. He ends up taking his own life in the end. Because it seemed to be better just to leave and continue on. And he's not the only one out there that's done this. So there's so many examples. Like Elvis Presley. Had everything. He was a king of rock and roll. He died due to his drug addiction. Had everything, had wealth, name, fame, prestige, family. But it wasn't enough. He was doing drugs to try to fill in that gap, to fill in that emptiness that was still there even after all that success. If these personalities couldn't find fulfillment, couldn't find happiness, what is our chances? What's your chance in this material world to find happiness through material enjoyment? This fleeting moment of, I caught some happiness. It's gone. Just as soon as you catch it, it's already gone. Krishna consciousness is the only worthwhile investment that we spend our time in. Because time is an investment. Something of time is such a valuable resource. We cannot buy back a single moment of time. There's no amount of gold in the world when you can buy back a single moment of that time that we've wasted here in this world. So if we are investing our time into material activities, it's all an illusion. We can't take anything material with us when we die. It stays here. We become the world's richest person. Buy all kinds of companies, have yachts, have a mansion and have all kinds of cars and all kinds of luxuries and indulge in our senses as much as we want. But in the end, it stays here. You can't take it with you. You got to start all over again. That's a lot of work. But if you invest your time in devotional service, following the instructions of the spiritual master, this is something that sticks with you, that stays with you, that builds, that grows with you, and something that doesn't go away. There's not a single thing in this material world that you can grab a hold of that you can keep. Not a thing. Except karma. And you don't want karma. It just binds you here. Any questions or comments so far? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. So I had a doubt that came up in my mind when you were talking about Vaishnavism. Or no, you were talking about different religions and their sects. But it it confuses me because Vaishnavism also has different sects, like the Sri Sampradaya, the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, and so many other Sampradayas. So what 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 separates ISKCON from all these other sects of religion?
What separates ISKCON? I don't know if there's anything that we can really say that separates, because all these other different religions, these are different ways that God has attracted others. So in this lifetime, not everyone can be a Hare Krishna in this lifetime. Not everyone's going to be born to be a Christian in this lifetime. Not everyone's going to be born to be Islam in this lifetime. Just like we have different kinds of karma, we have different kinds of cells. We're all on this path differently. So Krishna has created so many different ways for people to find him, for people to be attracted to him, to at least to begin to have a relationship with him. Just because I'm in Krishna consciousness this lifetime is no guarantee that I'm going to make it to Krishna Loka by be purified enough this lifetime. Who knows? I could be born into a different Sampradaya system next lifetime. But the whole thing is, it's a progression. You might be Christian in one life. You might be a Vaishnava in the next life. You could be Islam in one life. You could be a Catholic in the next life. It's all about it's a progression. All these other avenues, all these other religions, it's ways that God has attracted people. Because you can find pure devotees in other religions as well. I mean, there's wonderful stories, even out of from Catholicism. One of my favorite saints was Saint Francis. I'm not sure if you ever heard of his story. He was a 12th century monk, born in the 12th century, and he was born into a wealthy family. But he ended up renouncing everything, giving everything up, just wearing a loincloth. Oh, what do we call it? The tunic or whatever. Um, and ended up serving the poor. Walked with bare feet. And his whole thing, he recognized that everyone's is a creature of God. Everyone is created by God. And so he was known for going into communities with leprosy and serving the leopards. He risking his own welfare, serving others. He was that much attached to God that he was spreading, God's love to the poorest of the poor, to the outcasts. So you could find pure devotees, examples of pure devotees, not only in Vaishnavism. You could find examples of pure devotees throughout other religions out there if you look for it. So in many ways, like I said, it's yes, there are many different denominations. Even Vaishnavism has different denominations. But can we say that all are wrong or all are not correct? They all eventually lead back to God. Vaishnavism is probably the best path, the most direct route. Do we have a comment from Raj? Nice.
So, the goal of life is to realize ourselves as spirit souls, parts and parcels of Krishna. And our duty, ultimate perfection, is to be fully engaged in service to Krishna. So that can be done in this life if one can do it full time without falling down. He can make this life successful and be eligible to go back to Godhead after this lifetime. If he's not completed it, whether, as pointed out, it can be in whatever different capacity, but if he doesn't complete it, then whatever devotional service he's rendered, that will be to his eternal credit. And when he begins again, he'll continue from that point he left off. So it's a wonderful opportunity for everyone to make advancement. But a devotee, when one comes in contact with a Vaishnava, pure devotee, is so fortunate because they have so many good qualities that they have been endowed with by good association and by their devotion. So instead of finding the faults of others, the devotee wants to see the good qualities. They're trying, but they need some help, so it's our duty. Those who have a vision to see. This verse we read tonight, Vidya Samaya Sampane Pravanega Vinastini Shuni Chava Sapakicha Pandijatama Darshana means one who has equal, the learned person who has equal vision. He sees there's no difference between the dog and the dog eater, elephant, cow, outcast, and a Brahmin. In other words, he sees that they're all spiritual beings. They're all part and parcel of God. They're all my brothers. So he tries to be kind to all of them in whatever way he can be kind. Just like Haridas Thakur, he suggested, if you chant very loudly, then all the all these species of life benefit from it. Even the plants and trees, if you chant loud, they get the vibration. So the best thing is to try to become Krishna conscious in ourselves and try to help others become Krishna conscious. That'll be the best use of our time in this lifetime. Thank you.
That help answer your question?
Yeah.
Questions or comments? We'll move on to the next verse. Text 17. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Report. The supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the version of all Vedic literature. Partatva means the Supreme Reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality Godhead, is the last word in the Absolute. There's nothing more than that. Lord says, Mata Paratarma Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhyana Jaya. Impersonal Brahma is also supported by Krishna. Brahmano Partishat Prashitaham. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality, one whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. Krishna conscious persons can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity, and individuality. In Krishna, and equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress in the path of liberation. So that's pretty much to have Krishna, to be thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is our goal. To be fully absorbed in him. Because we are preparing ourselves for the time of death. That's the most important thing. So when the time of death comes, if between our karma being purified and our desire leads us on to our next life. So if our karma is purified, we're down to zero karma, and our desire, and we're only thinking about Krishna, you go straight back to him. Straight back to Krishna. But if our karma is not purified, we still have lingering things that we want to fulfill in our desires in this world. Well, Krishna is merciful. He's going to give you a body that's where you can fulfill those desires. So we are practicing, we are training ourselves for the time of death. One, we're trying to purify our past karma, purify our past actions, so we're not being chained and bound to this world. We're wanting to tie ourselves off onto Krishna with ropes of love. Because the more that we are surrendering to Krishna, the more that we are giving ourselves to Krishna, the more that Krishna is surrendering to us, and more he is giving himself to us. We are conquering Krishna through love, and through love only. As I said earlier, conquer Krishna through love. Boy, that sounds easy. But yet again, we don't know what love is. Because God is love. We're trying to discover what love is. We only know this perverted form of love that we're being taught in this world. But it's nothing close to what, you know, the love of God is. We have to learn that. The only way to do that is through pure loving devotional service, serving our guru. Any last minute questions or comments before we wrap up class? Bhagavad Gita ki jai.